All right, so let's start. And can I just say this? If anyone is literally tuning in just now, or if you're watching this over on YouTube, this is not the best way to watch this. There's going to be too much pausing. This is what you watch if you want the analysis of it. This is not what you watch if you actually want to fucking see this animatic. For that, click the link in the description down below. Or I love how it starts. So first and foremost, the way this starts, really setting up this scene for us, really setting up the helplessness that Uther felt in those final moments, right? That those final moments before Arthas took his life. It does so much to set up the rest of this animatic, because it immediately thrusts us into Uther's mindset. Which I think this is one of the reasons I believe Blizzard to be one of the greatest when it comes to cinematics. They don't only make them look cool, they don't actually give us goosebumps, but they understand the natural progression of storytelling, how a story should be told, which I think is truly miraculous. That literal focus on the runes and how the runes are glowing, while we know that this is the natural essence of Frostmourne, you almost get this idea that Frostmourne is hungering. This is what Blizzard is setting up here. They're setting up Frostmourne hungers, right? It's almost as if the runes know another soul is coming for it. Which again, this is one of the reasons I love these animatics, is exactly how much detail can be placed in these animatics.
Light, save my soul.
That is very important. The first time around when we watched it, some people missed it on stream. As Uther is breathing his dying breath, he says, "Light, save my soul." Now, later on, that might become very important towards the later stages of this. That might actually become extremely important. Light, save my soul. And it might actually be that split that we see later on in this animatic, that was the light. The light literally fighting against what Frostmourne does. Frostmourne steals your soul. It may very well be that it was the light that, while it couldn't save all of him, it could save some of him. A portion of him could at least be saved. I just want to say, before we even get into anything extra here, Bastion truly is a majestic realm. When you're playing through Bastion, you can see the perfection, the order in everything that Bastion does. Everything that Bastion pursues is always order. This is literally what Bastion stands for. Now, something interesting that really does appear to be in the lore of the Shadowlands is that none of these realms, and it's important that you know this as we go through the story, none of these realms are natural. These realms are not meant to exist. And you'll see when you finally get your hands on the Shadowlands and you play through the storylines. We actually had Nobble 2 nights ago on the stream, and Nobble was the one who said, if you play through the Covenant story zones, this is what you realize very quickly. These realms are not natural. They were built by the Eternal Ones. So the Shadowlands is functioning very different to how it was originally meant to function.
Uther.
Where am I?
Welcome to Bastion. You led a truly selfless life.
Actually, an amazing thing that Blizzard sets up here is the difference in Devos When you listen to Devos here, you can hear the kindness in her voice, the compassion that she has for those in her charge. And as it progresses, you hear the anger building. You can hear the frustration building in her voice until her final transformative moment, which I think is again, just masterfully done. And just quickly, it also gives us so much more insight into Devos. Up until now, if you've followed the speculations at all, Devos has been literally words on a screen for us. Devos gives us insights into why the Frostmourne have decided to throw their lot in with the jailer. But something here changed Devos forever. It allowed for Devos, and this is where things get really important. This is what this animatic doesn't actually show. After everything that Devos has seen here, after the creation of the Frostmourne, Devos says that as she listened to the words of the jailer, she realized what was done to him, what was done to them all. The purpose is flawed. This is the words of Devos herself. I think this being the catalyst moment is not the full story, but we may be able to speculate on that a little bit more.
For that, you have been chosen.
Chosen?
To shed your mortal burdens and join the ranks of the Ascended.
Just quickly there, having played through Bastion a number of times, one of my biggest problems with Bastion right from the get-go, right off the bat, you learn from the very beginning that they strip all aspirants of all memories. As you go through the Bastion quest chain, you get to this Temple of Loyalty. The Temple of Loyalty strips you of your memories, and you actually partake in this ritual where they hit this gong and then memories pop out and you destroy those memories. What I didn't know, what actually became apparent later in the Bastion storyline, is why they do this. The Kyrians strip their aspirants of their memories so that once they become ascended, they can ferry souls from the land of the living to the Shadowlands without judgment. That's the entire point of the Kyrians. That's their job. And they cannot have judgment in their souls when they do this. This is one of the things Devos realizes through this animatic, what was wrong with how they did things. They would bring people into the Shadowlands that, according to Devos, does not belong in the Shadowlands. They would do things that doesn't warrant these souls ending up in Bastion or in Revendreth or wherever the case might be. So this is one of the things that Devos takes issue with.
Serving to ferry the souls of the dead unto the Shadowlands.
I serve the light, and my work is not done.
So one of the things that's amazing about this animatic, a lot of people will look at this and just go, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. But then once you get into the Shadowlands and you start playing through Bastion, which I cannot wait for you guys to do, you realize what's happening to Uther here. Uther cannot let go of his life, his mortal memories. He refuses to let go of it. This is why he says, I serve the light. He doesn't serve the light. We know very well that he doesn't serve the light. He is now a Kyrian, which means he serves the Shadowlands, but he refuses to let go of it. As far as he's concerned, he still serves the light, and the reason being...
There is an evil that must be...
There is no evil here. The darkness was sealed within the maw long ago.
Interesting little fact here for everyone. I don't think even they know how long ago the jailer was sealed into the maw. The denizens of Erebos, who are immortal, who serve the Arbiter, they don't know. They call him the Banished One, Zuval the Jailer. They don't know why he was banished. They don't exactly know how his prison functions. None of them know. So Devos here is just repeating a line that she has heard most likely from someone else. She herself does not necessarily even know when Zuval was actually imprisoned.
You're wrong. He destroyed my home. Murder.
This is clearly a choice by Blizzard. This is clearly a choice by Blizzard. No, you're wrong. He's talking about Arthas, and obviously Devos isn't speaking about Arthas. Devos is speaking about the jailer. The fact that they are fundamentally talking past one another is the first clue we have that there is no difference between Arthas and the jailer. They are the same. In my video yesterday, I think that's exactly what I outlined.
Murdered my people and my king. He must be punished.
You are an aspirant now. You must accept your new purpose and purge yourself of this desire for vengeance.
What I desire is justice.
This is another thing that I think is broken right now within the Shadowlands. There's a very big, like Justice has said, I think 2 more times in this entire animatic, the words justice and vengeance are used. We also know that Uther himself, voice lines that he has inside the Bastion storyline, he says, what we did to him was not justice, it was vengeance. In other words, it's almost as if Blizzard might be hinting here at the Shadowlands, while functioning orderly, is not justified. What happens within the Shadowlands is not justice. It's something entirely different, which, if you want my headcanon speculation on this, as I've hinted to multiple times now in different Sunday night streams, also here on Twitch, I've done multiple streams where I've speculated on this issue. The Shadowlands was created by the Eternal Ones. These would be the Archon, the Primus, the Winter Queen, and Sire Denathrius. They stole the Shadowlands from the jailer. They stole his own domain from him, and they designed this new system. This new system that would give them sole control over Anima. The power level that Anima grants one of these Eternal Ones is ridiculous. It is absolutely insane. Now, the fact that they have set it up this way means by design, this has got nothing to do with actual crimes and punishment. This has got nothing to do with actual order or an actual afterlife. We are batteries to be used by the Eternal Ones of the Shadowlands.
Devos, why are you training this soul? It is beneath your station as a paragon.
He cannot let go.
Interesting trick that Blizzard uses here, and I don't know if they necessarily planned this, but if you read about Arthas, one of the reasons Ner'zhul chose Arthas as his future champion, although I still argue that it's not even Ner'zhul. According to Bolvar himself at the top of Icewind Citadel, he felt the master of the helm, and it wasn't Ner'zhul, it wasn't Arthas, it was something else, right? So Bolvar himself states that the helm does not belong to any of those two. There is an actual master attached to it. But one of the reasons he was capable of winning Arthas over was because of Arthas's care. The compassion that Arthas had, the love that he had for his own people, his sacred charge to keep his people safe is what led him to, he will do anything to keep them safe, even if that means losing his own soul, which Arthas actually said. He will pay any price to save his people. In that regard, it's interesting that Blizzard again almost mirrors it in this animatic. There's a mirroring happening here. The very reason Devos will ultimately fall is her care, her sacred charge. She cannot let go of Uther because she realizes something is wrong with him.
He continues to demand retribution for his death.
And this concerns you? Many souls take eons to ascend.
Yes, but this one seems broken, Thenios. Unlike any soul I have seen, I have begun to wonder.
This gives us some insight into what exactly Frostmourne does and what exactly the jailer's power is, right? The fact that Frostmourne could break his soul. In other words, even if, according to this guard over here, he says, look, some souls take a long time. What are you going to do? You know, there's nothing you can do. One of the reasons she can't let go is Uther isn't like the other aspirants. She cannot let go of Uther is his brokenness. there's a problem with Uther. So how fucking powerful is Frostmourne? If Frostmourne has the power to break a soul, we're not even talking about just absorbing a soul. We're not talking about just stopping a soul from moving to the Shadowlands. It can break a soul. And we know that Frostmourne is literally the weapon of the jailer. It belongs to him. It's a part of him. Then what exactly was the actual job of the jailer? What was his job and his purpose in all of this?
Whether he was deemed worthy of Bastion. By mistake.
Be careful, Devos. I would not let the Archon hear such a thought. In time, he will forget. Trust our ways. Trust the path.
She's already showing signs here of questioning the path. The squinting of the eyes, the almost angerous look that she has. Angerous? Don't even know if that's a fucking word, but I'm going to go with that word now because I like it. That look that she has it's almost immediate. It's showing you the change. She has trusted in the path. Just a few moments earlier, she actually told Uther to trust in the path. But as time goes on, that trust in herself is starting to diminish, which is just amazing.
Devos, how long must we train?
Until you are ready to ascend.
And what is keeping me from ascension?
Nothing but the memory of your mortal life.
How can I forget when
This is the first time that I guess Devos confronts Uther, or Uther confronts Devos about this problem, about what exactly is happening here. What's even more interesting to me is that this blade, this Frostmourne, is so powerful that it is quite literally stopping Uther from ascending. He can't let go of that memory because of what the blade had done to him. And you have to wonder if perhaps this was not planned as well by the jailer.
I can still feel his blade.
Your soul.
Now this is just amazing. The actual cut and seeing the anima inside of Uther, seeing that anima effectively seeping out.
Is wounded? Who did this to you?
He was my student.
You can actually see the pain on Uther's face. That's the memory that keeps him. It's his fault. He should have seen it. Perhaps he could have changed it. But it's Devos' reaction that tells us Uther had no chance.
My student. He betrayed us all.
Show me.
I want to pause on this because this is extremely important. Just before this happened, just before Uther died or breathed his final breath, Uther said, "Light, save me." Now, this is what I mean when it comes to Frostmourne. This is what Frostmourne does. This is the natural event of Frostmourne. It's its natural purpose. It splits souls in two. And we could see this in a different cinematic. You see the exact same thing. Let me just quickly bring this up. Oh my fuck, can I type Sylvanas will bring over? There we go. No. Yes, okay. Alright. See the blue? Now look what happens. Two sides. So this is yet another time that we see two sides. two things coming out. One goes into the blade, the blue soul goes into the blade, and something else comes out on the other side. In Uther's case, in my opinion, this was the side that the light could save. This was Uther. This was the good of Uther. The only parts of Uther that made him as noble as he was. This is the Uther that got trapped inside the blade. Much like what happened to Sylvanas. Sylvanas is trapped in much the same way. If we go back, we have the blue bit of Sylvanas as she gets pulled back. The blue bit of Sylvanas as she gets pulled back into the blade. And what comes out is Arthas' own creation, right? It's what Arthas wanted to create. That's what we get, this. He wanted to create a banshee with only anger and hatred. That's all that sustains her. The same, I believe, happened to Uther. The light did save him, as he said at the beginning here, right? He said, light, save my soul. And the light did. The problem is, Frostmourne does not let go of its own fucking worry. That fear that they showcase there is absolutely brilliant. Without even knowing the full story, right? If you've never been on the channel and you don't know what the story of World of Warcraft, where it's going, just looking at this tells you what she has just seen here has scared the living fuck out of her. There's nothing more to say about it.
The runes on his blade were unmistakable. This dark agent runs free on a mortal world with the power of the Maw itself in hand.
With the power of the Maw. So I called this a number of weeks ago already with my first ever view of Uther and Arthas. I said this at the beginning of Shadowlands as well, but this is further confirmation. All of the Lich King, everything that the Lich King is, comes from the jailer. It comes from the Maw. This is what has scared Devos absolutely shitless. Is the jailer isn't locked up. Clearly. He's able to do whatever he wants, and Devos is the first to realize that with this guy free, and as I've said before, they're all terrified of the jailer. And I don't mean just a little. They are fucking terrified of this guy. The denizens of Erebos says if he gets free, he'll destroy everything. In Ardenweald, they are afraid of him getting free. I don't think the jailer is just a normal first one. I think the jailer is far older and far more powerful than even most of these eternal ones.
Your realm is imperiled.
Impossible. The Maw is inescapable. You must return to the path.
If he had purged his life, we never would have known of this calamity. The path is flawed!
She's not mistaken. If he had purged his life, they never would have known. This is why I'm telling you. The entire Shadowlands is a fucking scamas. It is 100% a scamas. This is why Sylvanas says the following. And so it did, and so she continued. For power sought power, and she would have more of it, not for its own sake, but to wield it. The unjust ladder of their lives must be dismantled, not rung by rung, but all at once. All of it. She had been the plaything of a self-righteous cosmos long enough. The jailer too understood what must be done. She did not know if or when Thanos left. It mattered not. She had merged entirely with the shadows there already. Part of the darkness at last. This is exactly what Sylvanas is trying to say. This is exactly what Devos is experiencing here. It's the exact same thing. Devos is finally realizing that everything they've done, everything that they've believed, it's all been a fucking lie. It's all been a joke. We are being scamased into providing them with the power they require to fulfill their own destinies as we willingly play along.
Enough!
That scream was pretty terrifying. Like, if I was going off and off and off and someone yelled enough that way, I'd probably go quiet too.
order of the Shadowlands depends on the execution of our eternal charge. You will abandon this course.
Throughout the story, right up until the end of Bastion, is where for the first time the Archon starts questioning their sacred charge. That's the first time the Archon goes, well, perhaps we were making a ton of mistakes here. Perhaps we were fucking up just ever so slightly. Who knows, you know, but perhaps there is some modicum of truth to the words of Devos and also of Uther. They couldn't know what the threat would be. The way in which they destine themselves, the way in which they conduct themselves means that there's no way for them to know when or if the true threats are going to arrive.
As you command, my Archon.
She looks so fucking badass, by the way. This Devos just looks crazy badass. Look at that. Oh my. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The Forsworn are prima, dude. The Forsworn, they're fucking genius. I love the Forsworn. So yeah, this is just absolutely insane. I absolutely love this cinematic work from Blizzard here.
Uther! The time of your ascension has come.
I thought I was not ready.
Uther was forced to ascend long before he was ready to ascend. But of course, we now know there's no way Uther was ever going to be ready to ascend. So why did Devos do this? You see, because Devos now has a new plan. Devos now doesn't think that an aspirant should be prepared to ascend. She believes that those memories, those things that make you human, those things that make you remember, they are essential to the Kyrians doing their job. They are essential to the Forsworn.
Do you wish to see him punished?
I do.
Then
An interesting idea here. Do you wish to see him punished? This is why I believe the Shadowlands has been broken since the very beginning. Because there is no real punishment for souls that, according to Devos at least, deserve it. Arthas served the jailer. He was his agent on Azeroth. Arthas does not deserve a second chance. Arthas does not deserve to show up in front of the Arbiter and be placed in one of the Covenants. Arthas deserves his fate in the Maw. This is why she says punishment. All right, let's continue because it gets even better.
Prepare yourself.
It's so epic. It literally goosebumps because, I don't know, Blizzard, what the fuck are you even doing to me?
The moment he falls.
All right, so this gives us timelines, right? This gives us tremendous timelines. The moment he falls. In other words, at this point, Arthas is still not dead. There's still nothing they can do. They can't interfere. But when he dies, it's over. That's when we're getting him. That's when we're going for him. As soon as he dies, it's over. So to those who's asking, did Uther maybe break the Shadowlands? It does not line up with the timeline. Somewhere at the beginning of Legion is when the Shadowlands broke. This is not then. This is a few years prior to this entire thing.
We will claim him.
The only thing that this is missing right now is to have that actual back in the day Arthas cinematic music. Like that's literally, as I'm watching this, I'm waiting for that music to begin. I'm waiting for that music to kick in from the original cinematic. That would have been just perfect. Louder than this is actually what I should have said. I wanted it to start the same way that the cinematic started, with that giant, strong music, right? The strong music from that. And then you get into it going quiet as Arthur starts speaking. It just, I think the music was a little bit underwhelming here. The way it started, at least, was a little bit underwhelming for me. I love how in his facial expression, we get almost surrender. Remember the words just before Arthas said, "I see only darkness for me." He grabbed to his father and he asked, "Is it over?" That's the music that I meant I wanted to have start, was that sort of very hectic entrance or intro.
Father, is it over?
That's important, right? Because this scene actually shows us what he felt back then. Is it over? Am I finally free? Am I finally free of this control, of this jailer that wouldn't let me go?
Only darkness.
What's really insane is that we finally see Arthas's final moments. We see what he saw when he said, "I see only darkness for me." What he spots in this moment.
I see only darkness before me.
He knew that she wasn't there to save him. He knew that she wasn't there to just move him along. I see only darkness for me. The way Blizzard shows this might be very similar to what the explanation is, or at least the pictures that we got from what Sylvanas saw. This is similar, although Sylvanas saw more of these Valkyr, right? They saw far more than this. But it might be a very similar thing. The Maw, just FYI, for anyone that hasn't played it yet, fuck. The Maw is crazy. It is a dangerous and scary place. Believe me, the sounds that you hear there, it's proper hell. Blizzard did a brilliant job of them all, and they do an even better job here. The fire, effectively, right? This is the pit of hell. This is exactly what this is.
Now, cast him into the maw. Return him to the darkness he served. His eternal suffering awaits.
Again, this is Devos standing up against the purpose. Devos is showing this absolutely clearly now. They should have the right to judge the souls based on their own being. Again, telling us that something is very wrong with how the Arbiter does things. And I've described this to you guys before. There is a soul inside Maldraxxus called Emily. Emily slaughtered thousands of her own family members to become the leader of her kingdom, or wherever the fuck her country was, or wherever her world was. She slaughtered thousands of them. If ever there was a soul, we're told that the Maw is meant for the souls that truly can't be saved. If there was a soul that truly can't be saved, surely someone who slaughters thousands of their own family members, should kind of belong there. But that's not what happens. In other words, the Maw isn't really a place where unwanted souls go. It's all a game. Devos is saying we should be allowed to play too.
He was my student.
I love the fact that throughout all of this, the anger that Uther is feeling, the hatred that Uther is experiencing, Blizzard finds a way with a few lines here to keep him almost a bastion of principle. Because if you think about Uther, if you ask anyone that knows the story of WoW, what do you think of Uther? It's a just man. That's who Uther was. He was just. He was righteous. And with just this one line, he was my student, we see the struggling that Uther still experiences, right? Uther just doesn't just want to throw Arthas into the maw. He is actually struggling with this fucking choice.
Remember what he did, and take your vengeance.
Not vengeance. Justice.
But we also see here the manipulation from Devos in this moment. And this is where we kind of have to ask ourselves multiple questions. First and foremost, Devos does have a point. But at the same time, when Devos could see the past of Uther, it allowed her to manipulate him. Because Uther was actually struggling with this decision.
Now, cast him into the maw. Return him to the darkness he served. His eternal suffering awaits.
He was my student.
Uther is, like I said, he is actually softening in this moment as he's looking into the eyes of Arthas, or, well, the face of Arthas. He is softening. He is realizing that, hey, I don't think maybe this isn't the right thing. And Alex, you're correct there. His eyes actually kind of going from wide open, almost angry, to softer. There's a softening in his eyes. You can see that Uther is starting to doubt this choice. Maybe something can still be saved from Arthas. And then, of course, Devos interferes here.
Remember what he did, and take.
And you can see the anger on her face, the vengeance. She is now fueled by a crazy amount of history almost. How the path has led them astray. Devos is hellbent on this change, this acceptance.
Your vengeance.
Not vengeance. Justice.
Important line here, because later on we will find out that Uther no longer believes that this was justice. This is that moment that we saw with his eyes softening. Uther remembers that later on in the Kyrian campaign. Uther says, what we did to him was not justice. It was vengeance. You can hear it from her. She tells him.
He was my student.
Remember what he did, and take your vengeance.
Take your vengeance. Uther doesn't like that. He doesn't want vengeance, he wants justice.
Not vengeance. Justice.
And with this moment, all questions should be answered. Where is Arthas? He's in the maw. That's where he resides. That's where Arthas is. It's not necessarily smiling that I see here. It's more self-righteousness. He has done what was required of him. Remember, all of this is showing us character progression. It's showing us a personality that is progressing into something larger. It is you could say smug. You could say that Uther is, he's exacted the justice that Arthas deserved, right? That's the sort of look that you get there. If the other three is half as good as this one was, I would be very impressed. This was amazing. The amount of story we got throughout this entire thing is truly remarkable. Just what Blizzard have been able to do with these animatics. And we saw this already with the Sylvanas Warbringer stuff, or with all the Warbringers really. I love the fact that Blizzard is embracing this sort of animatic storytelling, because I think the animatics do something very different. The CGI cinematics that Blizzard does, they're amazing. Let's be real. They're awesome. But I don't think they're as good at telling the story as these animatics are. I feel like the animatics are sometimes far better at really showing and telling that story. And in my personal opinion, this is one of the better ones we've seen up until now. I've loved all of them, but I'm in love with this one. So if I could, I'd go out with a couple of those. I might fuck one or two of the others, the past ones, but I'd definitely marry this one. In my professional opinion, I would marry this one. I just think it is insane. I mean, it is sort of finished. Kettlemesh, there's really nothing else. All you need to know now is that it's pre-purchase now if you want to play it, because it is launching on October the 27th. That's when we're getting Shadowlands, World of Warcraft expansion. So I really hope that I will see most of you there then.
I see. Only darkness.